Yes, you are the first millionaire in the family. Let me show you how that happened. But first, I want to talk about an inheritance you received without knowing it. There is an inheritance that passes from parent to child in millions of families, and it does not appear in any will. Nobody signs any papers. Nobody talks about it out loud. But it decides how much money you will have at 40 years old with more precision than your degree, your effort, or your intelligence. I am going to show you what that inheritance is, how to discover whether you received it, and most importantly, how to return it. Because if you were born into a family that always had little, there is an enormous probability that you are carrying that inheritance right now without knowing it. And by the end of this video, you are going to see things about your own childhood that were in front of you your entire life. Let me start with a scene. An ordinary kitchen in an ordinary house. On top of the refrigerator, hidden behind the jars of spices, there is a container. Inside it, some folded bills. 200, maybe $300. It is the emergency money. It has been there for years. It never grows. It never earns. It never moves. It just waits, in the dark, for something bad to happen. Now pay attention to what that container teaches, because it teaches without saying a word. It teaches that money exists to defend, never to attack. It teaches that the most a person can do with money is keep it out of their own reach, because the person does not even trust themselves. It teaches that the future is a threat, never an opportunity. A child who grows up seeing that container absorbs these three lessons before the age of 10 and will carry all three for the rest of their life, unless someone points them out. Today, I am going to point them out. First revelation: nobody needed to tell you that you were poor. You learned it from your parents' faces. Think about it with me. Nobody sat down with you at 7 years old and explained the family's financial situation. That meeting did not happen. What did happen was the way your mother's jaw locked when the car made a new noise, the way your father changed the subject when someone mentioned retirement, the specific silence that settled over the table at the end of the month. Children are machines for reading faces. Before knowing how to add, you already knew how to decode the expression of an adult worried about a bill, and it was that way, by watching, that you took your first finance course, a course where the only subject was fear. And there is a cruel detail in this. You learned not to ask for things. Remember? The school field trip cost $12 and you did not even bring the form home because it was the wrong week of the month and you already knew. You wore the same 3 shirts in rotation and became an expert at pretending that was a style choice, and it was not because your parents were bad people. It was because the expression on their faces when you asked hurt more than going without the thing. That expression taught you something no school would teach, that wanting more was dangerous. That ambition was a luxury item for other families, that the correct posture for someone like you was gratitude for the little, never hunger for the much. This has a name. Psychologists call it inherited scarcity mindset. I call it the invisible ceiling. And the ceiling is invisible precisely because no one needs to point to it. You simply grow until you hit your head. And when you hit it, you stop growing. Because that is what everyone around you did. That was what you were supposed to do. Second revelation, and this one changes everything. The ceiling is not in the world, it is in your head. And there is an exact day when that realization hits. For some people, it is at 17. For others, at 25, at 35. You are in a completely ordinary place. A work break, a bus, your childhood bedroom at midnight with the laptop light on your face, and you read something, or you watch something, or you meet someone, and one single thought enters your mind with the silent force of a crowbar. The people who got wealthy did not start with more than I did. They just decided the ceiling was not real. That thought is the best thing that has ever happened in your life, or the beginning of a very difficult decade, probably both at the same time. And I need to be honest with you about what comes after that thought, because the entire internet lies about this part. The moment you decide to step off the script that was handed to you does not feel like empowerment. There is no soundtrack. It feels like vertigo. It feels like you stepped off a ledge and still do not know whether there is ground below or just more air. You start studying obsessively, and you study in secret. You do not tell anyone, and you know exactly why you do not tell anyone. Because your circle has an immune system, and that system identifies ambition as a foreign body and attacks. You have already seen it work. A cousin of yours tried to start a business, and everyone called him crazy until he quit. Then they called him sensible. Do you see the trap? In your world of origin, trying is madness and quitting is wisdom. So you stay quiet, you read in the early hours of the morning, you watch videos with headphones, you fill a notebook with ideas that seem obvious and impossible at the same time. You are building a private world inside your head, and the distance between that world and the world where you wake up every day starts to make everything feel slightly unreal. And if you have made it this far and feel like I am describing your life, do one thing for me. Write in the comments the word ceiling. Just that, ceiling. I want to count how many people watching this video grew up under the same invisible ceiling. Because there are people who carry this their entire lives thinking it is a personal defect, thinking it is laziness or incapacity, when in reality it is an inheritance that millions received. And when you write ceiling down there and then see hundreds of people writing the same word, something breaks. You discover that you were never alone in this. Write it there. I read every one. Third revelation. There is a phase of the journey that no success video shows. And it is precisely in that phase that 90% of people give up. I am going to show you that phase right now, without filter, because if you know it exists, it loses half its power. 2 years after that crowbar thought, maybe 3, your bank account does not reflect the hours you invested. You tried a first thing and it died in weeks. You tried a second and it dragged on for 6 months before dying quietly. You are tired in a way that sleep does not fix. You are doing for the 100th time something that still does not work, while everyone around you lives a normal life that starts to seem, if not glamorous, at least restful. Your friends stopped inviting you out, without any malice. They just stopped expecting you to say yes, and then stopped asking. You tell yourself that is fine. That sacrifice is the price of the goal. And that is true. But sacrifice charges, even when it is chosen. That is a part of the bill that nobody shows you in advance. Your family starts asking questions with a blade hidden inside. When is this going to turn into something real? And it is not rooting against you, it is fear. They are afraid for you, and people with fear get impatient. Your mother asks if you need money, and the fact that she is offering money she does not have makes everything worse, not better. Because now, in addition to your own weight, you are carrying the weight of her worry. And then comes the early morning. Every person who broke the invisible ceiling had one of those early mornings, usually at 3 in the morning, when the entire project seems not just difficult, but genuinely stupid. And the voice in your head, that voice that has the exact tone of every person who has ever doubted you, gets very loud and very reasonable. It says, nobody from your background has ever done this. And that is not a coincidence. That is statistics. You sit with that sentence for a while, and here is the secret that separates those who cross through from those who turn back. You do not get up from that early morning because you are made of special material. Special material does not exist. You get up because the alternative is going back to the starting line, and you have spent too much time away from that line to be able to live on it again. The version of you that accepted the ceiling no longer exists. You burned the ground on that side. Only the path forward remains. If this part of the video touched you in some way, if that 3 in the morning has been yours at some point, leave a like right now, and I am going to give you the real reason for the request. This video is going to reach someone who is exactly in that early morning right now, someone weeks away from giving up. The algorithm decides whether to deliver this video to that person based on the likes it receives in the first hours. Your 1 second click could be the difference between that person watching this or giving up alone in the dark. Press like, not for me, for them. Fourth revelation: the first victory does not arrive the way you imagine, and what it does to your head is stranger than anyone admits. An ordinary Tuesday arrives. Maybe it is the first month in which the income from your project covers your rent. Maybe it is the first time a stranger pays for what you created. Maybe it is a number in the account that 2 years ago would have looked like a typo. Whatever it is specific, it is real, and it is yours. You stare at the screen longer than makes sense. Then you close the laptop and go to sleep, because there is no one to call. That is the specific loneliness of the first victory of someone who climbed alone. The person you most want to tell is someone who would not understand what the number means. And not for lack of intelligence, for lack of context. They were not inside the days that produced that number. Explaining would require explaining everything, and you do not have the energy for everything tonight. So you sit with the victory in silence, let it be real, and you sleep. But something changed forever that night. Before, you knew intellectually that the ceiling was breakable. You had read about it. You had seen examples. Now you know it in your body. And these are knowledge of different natures. It is the difference between reading about altitude and breathing thin air. From that night on, no one can convince you that the ceiling is real, not even the 3 a.m. voice. But the victory brings a poison with it, and almost no one talks about it. Before, your fear was of it never working. Now the fear changed shape. It is of working and then stopping. You become protective to a degree that borders on paranoia. You do not post, you do not share, you do not let anyone's energy get close until the thing is solid enough to withstand being seen. You reinvest everything. You stay uncomfortable on purpose because you learned the hard way that comfort is the place where momentum goes to die. Fifth revelation: and this is the one that no one in your circle will believe when you tell them. The day you cross the line of the first million is silent. Silent in a way that almost hurts. It happens on a Wednesday without a soundtrack. You are in an ordinary place at the kitchen table and you run the numbers the way you have run them hundreds of times. And this time they close above 7 figures, $1 million, in your name, in the account, with your documents. You check twice, you close it, open it again, close it. You spent 10 years imagining that moment as a finish line with a physical sensation of relief, a signal from your body saying, "This is it, you made it." Instead, the quiet comes, a deep and disorienting quiet. And I'm going to explain where that quiet comes from, because the explanation is the key to the entire video. The quiet comes from the fact that you just crossed a border that no one in your lineage has crossed before. There is no reference for this moment in your family's vocabulary. Your parents do not have a word for what you just became. The emotional language of this milestone simply does not exist in the house where you grew up. So you sit in the silence of it, like a person standing in a room from which all the furniture has been removed. You want to call your mother, and you call. You talk for 20 minutes, you do not mention the number, and it is not because you are hiding it. It is because you do not know how to say it without sounding like what it is not, without sounding like showing off, like separation, like you are on one side of a river and she is on the other, and you do not know whether telling her helps or just makes the water louder. So you say that things are going well. She says good. She tells you to eat real food and not just whatever is quick. You hang up and stay for a long time in the quiet. And here is the practical part that no one tells you. The money resolves instantly the problems you carried for years and reveals an entire floor of new problems you did not even know existed. Tax structure, wealth protection, investment vehicles, Inheritance planning. You grew up in a house with a container on top of the refrigerator. Nobody left you a manual for this. And you realized that becoming a millionaire ended one course and enrolled you in a harder one on the same day. Sixth revelation. The price you pay after winning is greater than the price you paid to win, and it is charged in a currency you did not expect. You go back home for the end-of-year holidays. Same house, same smell that was always in the walls, the one you stopped noticing when you lived there and now notice the second you walk through the door. Same television too loud, same uneven table with a folded napkin under one leg, everything the same. And yet there is a gap now, and the gap is not between you and the people. You love those people with the same intensity as always, maybe more, because distance has a habit of clarifying things. The gap is between the life you left and the life you live, and you can feel it the way you feel a change in air pressure. You pay for the whole family's dinner. You say it is nothing. They say you did not have to. You say you wanted to. And there is a microsecond of silence after that exchange, with the exact duration of the discomfort before everyone moves on and never mentions it again. But it happened, and it will happen again. And then the strangest phenomenon of the entire journey begins. You start losing people who are not leaving. Nobody dramatically exits your life. No fight, no break. Just a gradual pulling away, like two boats that were tied together, and someone keeps releasing the rope slowly, one handspan at a time. By the time you notice the size of the distance, the shore where you departed is just a shape on the horizon. Old friends start treating you differently. Some get quieter around you, in a way that feels like awkwardness. Others get louder, testing, prodding, looking for the version of you that would prove you have not changed. And when they do not find that version, they do not know what to do with the one they found instead. A childhood friend drops a comment at a dinner that lands wrong, something shaped like a joke and weighted like resentment. You do not confront it. He does not apologize. Both of you pretend the moment passed cleanly. You call each other less after that, and there is the guilt. The guilt is the chapter that nobody writes. A specific and hard to release guilt. The guilt of seeing your mother still worrying about money when you could sign a check that would end that worry forever, and not knowing how to do it without changing something irreversible between you. Because the moment you resolve your parents' financial life, the dynamic of 40 years inverts. The child becomes the provider. And not every parent knows how to receive that without feeling they failed. You carry that guilt as extra weight in the backpack. You get used to it, but you never put it down. If you know someone who is building something from scratch right now, a sibling, a friend, a child, pause the video for a moment and send that person this link. I mean it. Because everything I described up to here, the loneliness, the guilt, the gap, that person is going to go through all of it thinking they are the only one in the world feeling these things. And the simple fact of knowing that this path has a map, that other people have stepped on these same stones, changes the entire crossing. Perhaps the share you make today is the conversation that person needed to have and had no one to have it with. Seventh and final revelation, and I save this one for last, because it is the answer to the question you have been asking yourself since the beginning of the video. If the price is all that, why pay it? The answer is in something you only understand when you arrive. You did not break the ceiling for yourself. Let me explain slowly. When you cross through, when you build the wealth, when you put the structures in place, your children are going to be born into a world where the ceiling simply does not exist. And here is the part that sends chills. They will never know it existed. They are going to look up and see open sky, and they are going to assume that sky is always like that. Unlimited, obvious, available. They will not know about the 3 a.m. early hours. They will not know about the failed attempts, the loneliness of milestones with no witnesses, the dinners where you could not explain what you were carrying. They will not know. And that is exactly the point. You did not do this for a trophy. You did not do it for recognition or to be able to say, I told you so. You did it so that the next person in your lineage does not have to start where you started. Generational wealth comes down to that, a different starting line. The numbers are just the tool. What is truly transmitted is the size of the room your children will allow themselves to imagine. Think about the complete arc of this story. An entire family, generation after generation, living under the same invisible ceiling, each one handing the next the same container on top of the refrigerator, the same fear, the same locked jaw, until it reaches you, and in you, the chain stops. The family tree bent under the same type of pressure for a century, and on your branch, it stops bending. Everything you build now echoes forward through lives that do not yet exist. Children and grandchildren who will inherit accounts with numbers your grandmother could not have imagined, structures your father never knew existed, options your mother was never supposed to have. According to the original script, the container on top of the refrigerator becomes a memory you tell your children the way someone tells a story about another country. You took the invisible ceiling and turned it into their floor. And the view from up here has a quality you did not foresee. It is heavier than you imagined, quieter, more real, and you would not trade it for any easier version because the easier version ended with your children inheriting the container. So if you are at the beginning of this crossing right now, with the notebook of ideas hidden away and the 3 in the morning voice working overtime, I want you to keep one single sentence from this video. The ceiling is inherited, but it is not compulsory. You can be the generation that returns the inheritance. If this video gave you something you did not have before, subscribe to the channel. And the reason is simple. Every week, I publish a new video about money, mindset, and wealth building, made for those who are climbing without a map, without contacts, and without a famous last name. If you are on that crossing, this channel was built to be the map your family had no way of giving you. Subscribe, activate the bell, and I will see you in the next video. God bless you, and see you then.